about AG?
I don't think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing. If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
I see you, Jamie Raskin. Don't laugh. Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Okay, so by now, y'all are probably familiar with Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett.
Then we have to evaluate someone's credibility. And sir, I definitely have always had issues with your credibility, as I know that you are very well aware of. So let me remind you of what happened behind closed doors.
You should ask her O'Connor about my credibility.
I haven't asked you a question. Okay?
You are?
When I haven't. So when I ask you a question, that's when you answer. Otherwise, I'm talking.
My Republican colleagues want to talk about keeping DC streets crime-free. They can't even keep the halls of Congress crime-free, because we gonna talk about this, because I got 24 seconds. My freshman colleague has just been indicted on 13 counts, 13 felony counts, right? But have they exhibited any courage to say, you know what, we will disallow this in our body? I can't get over the gentle lady from South Carolina talking about white privilege. It was a spit in the face, at least of mine as a black woman, for you to talk about what white privilege looks like, especially from that side of the aisle. And let me quote your now ousted speaker and what he had to say about the Republican Party and y'all's lack of diversity.
And if not, y'all gonna learn.
She's gonna learn.
Marjorie Taylor Greene, AKA Capitol Hill Karen, saw fit to come for Jasmine Crockett last night in a midnight hearing of the House Oversight Committee.
I'd like to know if any of the Democrats on this committee are employing Judge Merchan's daughter.
Please tell me what that has to do with Merrick Garland.
Is she a porn star?
Oh, Goldman. That's right. He's advising. Okay.
He's advising who? What?
Now let's start with the facts. Marjorie Taylor Greene is making a mockery of herself, which is something that's become quite common at this point, which is why she can't get anybody to even sit next to her in the Oversight Committee. She is making a mockery of herself at the outset of this particular clip. That's what got us here.
Do you know what we're here for? You know we're here about AG.
I don't think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order.
Mr. Chairman,
That's beneath even
the order of your committee.
Order.
Okay, so just so we're clear, Marjorie Taylor Greene out here making a mockery of a midnight meeting of the Oversight Committee decides to come for Jasmine Crockett. Now, one of the oldest adages that we popularize here in this country is don't mess with Texas. She has decided to mess with a woman from Texas, a woman who's known for her savagery on the House floor, and a black woman in public at that. How's that gonna go for you? How did you think this was gonna go for you? You coming for a black woman from Texas in public. Look, if I'm coming for a black woman in public and some sort of verbal altercation, I plan that for weeks. Okay, this is chess, not checkers. I plan that for weeks. You don't just go in willy-nilly as Marjorie Taylor Greene, because it's gonna go, well, you'll see.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order.
Mr. Chairman,
That's beneath even
the order of your committee.
Order.
I do have a point of order, and I would like to move to take down Ms. Greene's words. That is absolutely unacceptable. How dare you attack the physical appearance of another person?
Are your feelings hurt?
Her words down.
Aw.
Oh, girl, baby girl.
Oh, really?
Don't even play.
Baby girl? I don't think
we are gonna move.
I'm gonna have to side with Marjorie Taylor Greene on this particular one. Ain't nothing baby girl by Capitol Hill Karen. Ain't nothing baby girl by Capitol Hill Karen. But I do see you, AOC. I do see you when you get so mad that you can't even express yourself with the knowledge that whatever happens is going to be blamed on you because of your brownness. We'll get to that.
And we're going to take your words down.
I second that motion.
So who will have to pay? Okay. Ms. Green agrees to strike her words.
I believe she
Chair
needs to
recognizes
apologize. No, no, no.
Mr.
She
Perry.
needs to
Okay,
apologize.
hold on. Then after Mr. Perry's going to be recognized, then Ms. Green
I'm not
has 4 minutes and
apologizing.
21
Well,
seconds.
then you're
reserve
not
the right to
striking your
object.
words.
I am
Mr.
not
Chair,
apologizing.
Now let's go. Come on, guys.
Why don't you debate me?
Mr. Chairman, the
it's
minority.
pretty
No,
self-evident.
You're not.
Yeah, you're
out
not-
of order.
you don't have enough
You're out of order.
intelligence.
Chair recognizes Mr. Perry.
Okay, move to strike
I'd like to
I
strike
move to
those
strike the
words
lady's
as well.
word.
All right, so that is the second salvo. That is the second attack that we have heard from Capitol Hill Karen. Now, what's good for the goose is good for the gander, right? What do we always say when we watch video of people letting their hands go? Who threw first? Here we have Marjorie Taylor Greene not only throwing first, but throwing second. And once that happens,
I would
Strike
like
the lady's
well.
words again.
That's 2 requests to strike. That's 2 requests to strike.
Oh, they cannot take the
There's
words.
another motion to strike her words again. Please
All right.
get
Okay.
your members under
Here's
control.
the correct parliamentary. Ms. Green, do you agree to unanimous consent to strike your words?
I repeat again for the second time. Yes, I'll strike
right.
my words,
That-
but I'm not
all right.
apologizing.
Without objection. Without
Not
objection.
apologizing.
Chair, 21 seconds.
Mr. Chair, point of order.
now you know the person who is the most dangerous in just about any scenario is the quiet one, right? It's the quiet one that you got to worry about. The fact that Jasmine Crockett done sat here quiet this entire time just means she was back there building up armaments because she's ready to go to war.
Ms. Crockett.
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling, if someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad-built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
She gave you 6 B words without the B word. That is some savage alliteration. That is well done.
If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad-built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
That is what you call skillful destruction. That is what you call that.
A what now?
Chairman, I make a motion to strike those words.
I don't think that's
Hold
a
on.
I'm
parliament.
trying to find clarification on what qualifies.
Chairman, motion to
I
strike
had no
those
idea
words.
what you just said.
Don't think I ain't see your face, Jamie Raskin. So don't think I ain't see your face, Jamie Raskin.
On what qualifies.
Chairman, motion to
I had
strike
no
those
idea
words.
what you just said.
We're not gonna do this. Look, you guys earlier literally just.
Oh,
said
You
that.
just voted to do it.
Y'all did it first, so you don't
just
want to talk
voted to do it.
Say you're gonna get
Order,
Marjorie
order.
on
I'm
the
trying to
lead.
get clarification.
Look at, calm down. Calm
No,
down.
because this
I
is
would
what
like to
y'all
get
do.
through proceedings.
So I'm trying
Hey,
to
Ms.
get
Crockett,
clarification.
you're not
Y'all wanna
recognized.
play
Ms.
games.
I can't hear
Crockett.
you with your
And you
yelling.
don't want
Calm
me to
down.
Be,
Can
no,
you please calm
don't
down?
tell me to calm down.
Calm down.
Because y'all
Please
talk
calm
noise,
down.
and then you
You're
can't
out of
take
control.
Because if I
Look,
come,
Chairman,
if I
can
come
we
and
send
talk
outside to
shit
take a
about
break
her,
for 5
y'all
minutes?
gonna have a
Mr.
problem.
Chairman, Mr.
Order.
Chairman.
All right,
Sorry.
chair.
I don't know why
Okay.
you're
Order.
acting
Chair
like
now
that.
recognizes.
Y'all heard that? Huh? Y'all heard and y'all saw that. Okay, so Marjorie Taylor Greene comes for Jasmine Crockett, then goes for AOC, but on the clapback, now we need to calm down. Now we need to calm down. Now you understand how Karen behavior persists. This is it. You cause the issue, then you play the victim. Now you play the victim because of the consequences of your actions. You decided you were going to come for Jasmine Crockett. I don't know what that was about. Maybe that was some sort of prison rules, like you just punch the biggest person you see and hope it gains you some respect. Except when it comes to prison rules, there's guards that prevent them from responding. She can just respond. That was a poor choice. That was an extremely poor choice. And now you cannot deal with the consequences of your actions, but now Jasmine Crockett needs to calm down. America.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's all it is.
She's not used
She
to
doesn't
people
wanna
talking back to
She
her.
doesn't want to say sorry to nobody for nothing. She's going to learn.
Oh, she learned all right. In fact, Jasmine Crockett wasn't even through pulling Marjorie Taylor Greene's wig from Hobby Lobby. Here is Jasmine Crockett's tweet, and in it, she outlines a few things. One, that Marjorie Taylor Greene is what took us outside the realms of decorum when it comes to House committee meetings. So if we're gonna live there, we're gonna live there. She refused to apologize, so she decided that's where she wanted to live. She decided to jump off the porch and she could get knocked back through the window. That's how that goes. Then she hit us with people in glass houses, which is a part that we must address here as well, because as a representative of bad-built America, we don't do that. We don't do that, Marjorie Taylor Greene. Marjorie Taylor Greene, bad-built America cannot go on the offensive, because where do you think that goes? You draw attention not only to yourself, you draw attention to all of us bad-builts. And who do you think suffers as a result of that? Bad-built America. You and me. We all suffer. If we want to get to the point that Martin Luther King outlined in his I Have a Dream speech, where we are judged by the content of our character and not the bad built of our bodies, okay? If we want to be judged by the content of our character, how does this help? How does this help? Okay? All of a sudden, she can talk about how bad built you are because you opened the door and talking about her eyelashes. What is wrong with you? Hopefully, your comeuppance will be a lesson to all of America. Oh, hell no. So let me get this straight. Jasmine Crockett defending herself at work from being attacked for her physical appearance is the ghetto one. She is the ghetto one, not Marjorie Taylor Greene, who started this. And by the way, she didn't start it talking about her work behavior. She didn't start it talking about her district. She started talking about her eyelashes. Tell me you racist without telling me you racist.
That's racist!
Now, I must ask, why are we all working so late anyway? Yes, this happened at damn near midnight. For what? Don't nothing good happen that late at night?
Seemingly, this type of attitude and position has come straight from the top. This idea of lacking all decorum, decency, has left the building when the stench of Donald Trump showed up. And so we've seen constantly from him how he mocks people. We've seen in this committee how different members want to mock other members. And that's all this is about. But what is so frustrating to me and what should be frustrating to the American people, and the reason that really all y'all should lose y'all's jobs, but why we are going to take the majority is simple. It's because we showed up ready to work earlier today, like we always do. And now it is currently 10 p.m., and we are still here because we are committed to doing the right thing. And my question is really simple. It's a matter of, if this was such a big deal, if it was a matter of an emergency, if this was so important as it relates to whether or not the President of the United States has done something so wrong, then why is it that we couldn't have our hearing at 11 o'clock this morning instead of members being in a criminal courthouse with a twice impeached, over 88 count indicted sexual abuser, instead of being here to do the work of the American people if this was serious?
Now, our originally scheduled performance was supposed to be at 11 a.m. today, but it was postponed when members of the majority chose to join a mass spiritual pilgrimage to the New York criminal trial of a Florida man.
First of all, extremely nice work, Jamie Raskin, calling him a Florida man, but You mean to tell me that everybody is up here late because y'all decided y'all wanted to go and make a PR appearance at court? Everybody had to stay late because y'all decided y'all wanted to go show up and make a PR appearance at court, and help Trump violate his gag order. Look, if you're the reason everybody had to stay late, you don't need to be making no noise. No, you don't need to draw attention to yourself at all. You should just be slinking in quiet and saying absolutely nothing. That's exactly what you see what Lauren Boebert did. You see she just sitting there and eating her food. Yeah, that is how you need to conduct yourself when you are the reason that everybody is there late, because you are one slip up from somebody taking your head off and you actually managed to go on the offensive. Then again, maybe I see why you were so mad, because you weren't invited, now were you? These were your people who went on that PR stunt and didn't invite you. Man, that's tough. Well, you're going to have to get used to that. Take it up with your girl, Bobo. She was there, but that's why she sat there quiet the whole time. Well, she was quiet for a little while. She took some time out to try and sell her new play.
That's delivered to my office. I'm titling it Boebert Off Broadway.
Oh, you best believe we're going to talk about that.
Y'all were real nice a second ago. Listen, Clarence Thomas is corrupt. End of story.
The way he puts it as originalism, that only laws that are rooted in, quote, history and tradition, meaning the social views of property-owning white men.
Y'all want to see a dead body? Y'all want to see a dead body? Fight back, Clarence. I'm just playing. Run him over. Hi, welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Now, while Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas was asleep in the guest house of his latest right-wing benefactor before he plays surrogate Happy Father's Day for avowed racist Crystal Clinton, Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett came for his robe.
Y'all were real nice a second ago. Listen, Clarence Thomas is corrupt. End of story. I mean, nobody gets this kind of money and isn't influenced in any way. That is where we stand, and that is why the American public is outraged at this court right now because of the likes of Clarence Thomas, and I absolutely believe that there is going to be a reckoning on November 5th.
Did she lie? Did she lie? Somebody find me the lie. Somebody find me the lie. I have talked about this in so many videos. By the way, the links to all those are in the description. I just have to keep updating the specific tenor of whatever new information of impropriety that we receive. And since Clarence Thomas is so big on precedent, why don't we talk about our founding fathers who made it their point to try and keep the money out of politics because they understood that politics would corrupt just about anybody. And given that he is receiving the amount that he has received over the years, I guess you could say at least he's doing a good job by the people that have hired him, because I guess he would be a worse person if he took the money and didn't do the things that they were asking him to do. By the way, I have a new Clarence Thomas clip which is on the way. About all of the clerks and the web that he has left underneath him, so that even if we saw fit to remove Clarence Thomas, the stink isn't all the way gone. And we know about stains and stinks that have a hard time getting out. It is something I have learned as a parent. It is something I've learned as a parent. But the issue now is that the grift got a little bit too grifty because it's become so obvious that now the voters have gotten involved.
I don't think it's my voice that they actually will pay any attention to. I think it's going to be up to the voters. I think for the first time, voters are talking about the Supreme Court as they're considering who it is that they are going to vote for president, as well as during some of those down ballot elections. And so one reason that Democrats may actually hold on to the Senate is because of the Supreme Court and the fear that if for some reason Republicans are given control of the Senate, that they will actually make the Supreme Court even worse than it is. And God knows how bad that could be for us as a country if this court gets any worse. So I don't think that they're really willing to listen to me, but I absolutely believe that the people are the only ones that are going to be able to rectify this issue.
I have never, ever in my life voted on the Supreme Court. I have never voted based on the Supreme Court. How bad do you have to be as a Supreme Court to make me think, not do I want this person or this person to be president, but who can clean up this Supreme Court? It is like choosing a medication based on the ancillary effects. I have moved all the way past everything that's in big, shiny lights.
Right now, all the polls show that public trust in the court has collapsed to the lowest level ever recorded. More and more people are seeing that it's a governmental agency. These are 9 government officials. They wear robes, but they're not wizards or religious figures. They're just government officials with lifetime appointments and huge power over the rest of our lives. So I think it's entirely appropriate to have it be a big issue. The Democrats have made reproductive freedom an issue, but they have not yet really made the Supreme Court itself an issue, and I hope that's the next step.
Crockett also weighed in on the recent bump stock decision. You know, for those of us that were disturbed that the guns just weren't gunning enough. You know what I mean? They just weren't gunning enough. How out of touch you gotta be to look at society today and be like, you know what? Why don't we make these guns a little easier? More violence, more violence. That's what we need, more violence. Who is looking at the internet and saying more violence? Our Supreme Court.
Yeah, I'm sure Justice Alito will come up with some other explanation as to why, even if Congress did act, why that law is unconstitutional in some way. I'm sure the Second Amendment and all of those gun manufacturers will win again. Listen, we know that this is the most ineffective and unproductive Congress in the history of Congresses. We know that nothing is getting through, and we absolutely know that when it comes down to anything that has to do with guns, they are beholden to those corporations instead of being beholden to the people that actually put them into power. And so if we don't make this a big issue, and I think that you're absolutely right. What Democrats right now are doing is we're trying to tie together all these issues. And at the center and core of these problems is the Supreme Court. So I think that it's not a matter of talking about them separately, but it's about tying in repro to the Supreme Court, tying in guns to the Supreme Court, tying in diversity, equity, and inclusion to the Supreme Court, LGBTQIA, as well as climate change. All of these issues, when we see the decimation of them, they're at the hands of this rogue court.
And if you doubt Alito's commitment to partiality, just check out that recording that he got caught out on.
I think one side or the other is going to win. I don't know. I mean, there can be a way of working, a way of living together peacefully, but it's difficult, because there are differences on fundamental things that really can't be compromised. They really can't be compromised. So it's not like we're going to split the difference.
Can't compromise with the left, huh? And you know what the wildest part about it is? How not big of a story it was. That's where we're at in 2024, that a Supreme Court justice being caught saying he can't compromise with the other side just falls by the wayside. You have met our expectations. This is exactly why I used to get frustrated in school, because I'm like, why would I get good grades when you're just going to expect me to get good grades moving forward? If I got bad grades, then that sets the bar good and low. And apparently, those of us that made it all the way to the Supreme Court, because that's the logic that we're going with. Jasmine also went over exactly how the Republican judicial subversion system works.
Yeah, so basically what those anti-abortion groups were looking for was a roadmap. Everyone who had ever gained a law license knew that this was a nothing burger case simply because they literally didn't have standing. The fact that a case that lacked standing made it all the way to the Supreme Court. And for those that aren't lawyers, essentially you can't sue if you haven't been harmed in some way. And that's essentially what we had, was a case that literally had people that had not been harmed. And the fact that it made it past the trial level and the appellate level and made it all the way to the Supreme Court is absolutely insane. But that that's because we have these right-wingers on every single level of the courts that are absolutely committed to doing their random Christian, and it's not Christian, it's Christo-fascism movement that they're all standing in the gap for. And then they basically signal to the court, tell us how we can get a case to you and how you will rule on the merits. And so basically the court decided, listen, we're not going to rule on the merits. This never had standing, and so we'll just leave it there. But it's important for us to really focus in on the fact that y'all were real nice a second ago. Listen, Clarence Thomas is corrupt. End of story. I mean, nobody gets this kind of money and isn't influenced in any way. That is where we stand, and that is why the American public is outraged at this court right now because of the likes of Clarence Thomas. And I absolutely believe that there is going to be a reckoning on November 5th.
Y'all want to see a dead body? Y'all want to see a dead body? Fight back, Clarence. I'm just playing. Run him over. I will show you a dead body. If you think what Crockett said was bad, just listen to Michael Waldman, CEO of the Brennan Center.
Well, we give these courts the name of the Chief Justice, but right now, Clarence Thomas and his ideas, the idea of the way he puts it as originalism, that only laws that are rooted in, quote, history and tradition, meaning the social views of property-owning white men from the 1700s, can govern our country today, that has become dominant. And sometimes Roberts can muster a majority to slow down the direction of the court. But Thomas's energy to push it and push the country in unrecognizable directions is really much more significant in the long run, I think, for this court.
You know, I've said I never want to go to the hospital with foul drawers on, and I also never want to appear on World Star. I'll add a third one. I never want a white man to accuse me of catering to white men. You know how bad you gotta be to have a white man call you out for catering to old white men? And the thing that he's saying is actually something that I articulated in my piece in Brown versus Board of Education. Because Clarence Thomas reflexively likes to lean on the precedent of people who saw fit to keep us in bondage. So exactly where does this stop? Just exactly where did it stop? Because we've already gutted the Voting Rights Act. We've already gone after the Civil Rights Act. We've gone after Brown versus Board of Education. Exactly where does it stop? Because if you really want to get back to the precedent, then I have some really unfortunate news about you and Jenny. Who you think you are, Byron Donalds?
And there are those that would make some people believe that because I happen to be black and or a woman, that somehow, even though I can rattle off all the qualifications in the world, my blackness makes me unqualified.
Y'all should have never got this sister started. Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Now, I have previously exposed here on this very platform the stupidity and flat out racism and all this anti-DEI rhetoric, be it Claudine Gay. Claudine Gay has suffered attacks on her character and especially her record. You know, the record that includes a BA from Stanford, a PhD from Harvard, being a Stanford professor, a Harvard professor, Harvard's dean of faculty, and finally Harvard's president. A school that's had multiple presidents with no PhD, but she has one from Harvard. I suppose that's not enough. The Boeing fiasco or the Key Bridge in Baltimore. Now, just put aside for a moment, how the f is this the mayor's fault? Links to those are in the bio, by the way, but Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett just dropped the mic.
I just want to go over a few things that are concerning and alarming to me. I don't know if you're familiar, but have you ever heard of Project 2025?
I've read about that, Congresswoman.
Okay. And there are some things indicated in Project 2025 that are quite concerning to me. And I want to talk about a few of those topics because this hearing almost feels like a Project 2025 hearing. One of those topics is diversity in the workplace. The agenda includes making sure that the next conservative administration dismantles DEI apparatus by eliminating various chief diversity officer positions, et cetera. And you engaged in an exchange earlier with one of my colleagues, and I don't know if you recall, but it was hitting me a little differently as a Black woman sitting here, because it almost seemed as if you either get diversity or you get qualifications. It did not seem as if my colleague understood that someone can be diverse and qualified. And it is why you have people like me that get very frustrated, not just in the halls of Congress, but in general in this country. Because as I'm sitting here, and there seemed to be this question of you're either diverse or you're qualified, all I could think about was the fact that I currently hold an honorary doctorate. I also hold a Juris Doctorate. I also hold a bachelor's. I also technically hold the rank of Lieutenant Colonel in the Civil Air Patrol, and I actually practiced law for almost 2 decades, in addition to serving on various boards, in addition to being a prior state lawmaker. And there are those that would make some people believe that because I happen to be Black and or a woman, that somehow, even though I can rattle off all the qualifications in the world, my Blackness makes me unqualified. My question to you is that the attitude that you subscribe to?
You are either diverse or you're qualified. Now, the anti-DEI crowd would argue it's about the best person for the job, right? Regardless of skin color. Then how come you never point to nepotism, huh? How can we never point to nepotism or any of the cronyism that's involved? Your man, Donald Trump, just appointed his daughter-in-law to head the RNC because she was the last person left in the family who wasn't already working in the administration. Well, see, the thing is, because when I put on my red hat, see, I wasn't the best person for the job. But when I put on my red MAGA hat, then it's the best Trump for the job. I can't help it. And besides, if it was about the best person for the job, where in the world is all the smoke for Marjorie Taylor Greene? Lauren Boebert, anybody? Can you imagine if Jasmine Crockett had a mugshot? How about if her feed was filled with video of her working out?
Joe Biden, you're not a president. You're a piece of shit.
But meanwhile,
I currently hold an honorary doctorate. I also hold a Juris Doctorate. I also hold a bachelor's. I also technically hold the rank of Lieutenant Colonel in the Civil Air Patrol, and I actually practiced law for almost 2 decades, in addition to serving on various boards, in addition to being a prior state lawmaker. And there are those that would make some people believe that because I happen to be Black and or a woman, that somehow, even though I can rattle off all the qualifications in the world, my Blackness makes me unqualified.
It's pretty clear this ain't about qualifications. Now, I will throw you this bone. It seems pretty clear you don't vet anybody on that side of the aisle.
You know, Cain killed Abel, and that's the problem that we have. And I said, what we need to do is look into how we can stop those things. You know, he talked about doing a disinformation. What about getting a department that can look at young men that's looking at women that's looking at just social media? What about doing that, looking into things like that, and we can stop that way? But yet they want to just continue to talk about taking away your constitutional rights. And I think there's more things we need to look into. This has been happening for years, and the way we stop it, by putting money into the mental health field, by putting money into other departments rather than departments that want to take away your rights.
But everybody you attack on this side of the aisle is a person of color. Now Now, why is that? That is quite the coincidence. Is this some kind of passenger 57 thing? Always bet on black?
Well, let me give you a word of advice. Always bet on black.
In fact, the best argument for DEI programs is your own racism. No, they ain't ready. They not, because they not ready to hear this. They not ready to hear about themselves. You know what? I'm gonna give it to you. Your racism got away from you and wandered away from the porch without a leash. The sheer fact that you identify any black person, whether they earn their position through years of service, DEI. They were nominated, DEI. If they were elected, DEI. That's the reason why diversity initiatives are necessary, because too many of you can't evaluate us based on anything other than the color of our skin. And you made that abundantly clear in your reaction to Jasmine Crockett. That is right, you played yourselves. No, we don't need no cash registers in this here store, because cash registers make you stupid. Hold on a second. What's that, $5.95? Okay, out of 20, there's your 10 back. Thank you for coming. You are literally proving the necessity for the thing that you detest so much. And that's before we get to the fact that, like Baltimore Mayor Brandon Scott, Jasmine Crockett was elected. I guess that was some kind of special DEI ballots that people were casting in Baltimore and Texas. And what is that? Like a ballot made out of kente cloth? Is that what it is? Like a little kente cloth in the corner? Or is it just like an all black ballot with white writing on it? Is that what the DEI ballots look like? And if you're wondering, by the way, his answer to Jasmine Crockett was pretty interesting in itself.
My blackness makes me unqualified. My question to you is that the attitude that you subscribe to?
Absolutely not, Congresswoman. And in fact, what we do at OPM every day is look to knock down barriers that are keeping qualified people like yourself, qualified people from all across America for pursuing federal jobs. Some of the things that we've done, for example, are eliminate unnecessary degree requirements and assess people based on the skills that they have and not just where they learned them. We have opened the doors to recruiting from HBCUs, HSIs, minority-serving institutions, populations that may not have thought of the federal government as an employer before. And we have a broad definition of diversity. There are rural populations that have in the past never considered the federal government as a potential employer because the offices were too far away and they would have to get up and leave from their hometown. Now there are some opportunities that they can stay right in that rural hometown and work for the federal government, let alone the amazing military spouses around this country who have to pick up and move in their jobs when their spouse is redeployed. Trying to tap in and keep that talent in government has been a big priority of ours.
Thank you so much for giving a plug to the Readiness Act.
Not bad. And the Readiness Act, by the way, is legislation that will allow more flexibility for working military and foreign services spouses when a service member is deployed or transferred. The bill was introduced by Congresswoman Crockett and Congressman Don Bacon and is endorsed by several organizations, including Blue Star Families, the Military Family Advisory Network, and With Honor Action. But of course, she's not qualified. The irony is, while you're attacking her blackness, she's actually working for you.
And when we say things like we're fighting for SNAP benefits, I do want to be clear that me fighting for SNAP benefits isn't about my district. I mean, obviously it is, but at the end of the day, so many members have said, my district, my district, my district, my district, my district. When we write a farm bill, it is for everyone in the United States of America. And just to clarify, when it comes to SNAP benefits specifically, rural America uses more SNAP benefits than urban America. And right now, I serve an urban district. The majority of my Republican colleagues serve rural districts. So when I say that I'm fighting for a bill that includes making sure that people in this country don't go hungry, I'm not saying that just to say that this is about Texas 30. I'm saying that to say that this is about all of us. So I am not just fighting for my constituents, I'm fighting for yours too.
I bet you didn't know that, did you? I bet you had absolutely no idea rural America uses more SNAP benefits than urban America. I bet even they didn't know, because we've all been conditioned after Reagan's welfare queen trope back in the 80s. So you can sit there on the farm complaining about the blacks in the cities getting their free handouts, in between walking to the mailbox to get your free handout. And what's so bad, you will even work against your own interests. We will go hungry, because I know we get the handout, but we will go hungry because I don't want them to have it. That is a sacrifice I am willing to make because I am a patriot. If you're looking for somebody to blame, look around the neighborhood.
I want to start off by saying I think most Americans are taught at a very young age that you are who you surround yourself with.
Is the fact that my colleague from the other side of the aisle talked about the company that we keep. And she wanted to go through a list of people that she felt like were bad company, because right now the majority has been relying upon the testimony of someone who's currently sitting in federal prison. And we know that your company is the company of somebody who's been found liable of fraud, as well as defamation, as well as sexual assault, and for whatever reason can't pay his bills.
Go ahead. I'll wait.
But in this particular set of circumstances, we know that if somebody shoots at me, in fact, some would argue that last week I had a colleague that decided she wanted to shoot at me, I'm going to shoot back.
She's a bleached blonde, bad-built, butch body, swinging for the fences, good God almighty. A heat-seeking missile, too scared to debate, cries like a baby when she don't get her way.
Michelle Obama famously said, when they go low, we go high. Are those days basically over?
I don't know that we can even call this a low. I mean, she goes to hell, and then I do my best to remind her as to why she should not cross me.
I appreciate you, Michelle Obama. I appreciate that. Yeah, when they go low, we go high. A couple times, not forever. No, we ain't going high forever. Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Now, by now, you've seen the shot heard round the internet.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up what you're reading.
If someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleached blonde, bad-built butch body.
We even got merch. And that has got to be one of the greatest attributes of the black community. We will literally produce merch for just about anything. I am shocked that I have never been to a funeral, walked outside, and been able to buy a t-shirt. I don't know how anybody has not got on top of that. There's even music too, but you know what? I'll let the music take us out. But in the aftermath, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett took her Marjorie Taylor Greene championship parade to CNN, and in doing so highlighted a phenomenon I like to call working while black.
Yeah, and I hear that, but she went after your appearance, and then like you went back at her 1,000-fold.
I did, in a very lawyerly way.
But obviously she started it, I'm not disputing that, but do you regret that at all?
When you described Greene in this request for clarification as a bleached blonde, bad-built butch body, which I had to look at my notes to read, any regrets about that kind of language?
Let's also let it not go unnoticed that Marjorie Taylor Greene has repeatedly refused to apologize and very begrudgingly had her remarks stricken from the record. But here you have Jasmine Crockett asked repeatedly whether she has any regrets. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is not asked whether she has any regrets, but it's about Jasmine Crockett, whether you have any regrets. That is interesting. That is real interesting.
Any regrets about that kind of language, especially given that you were trying to make a point, frankly, about decorum in the hearing room?
I have no regrets, and I'll tell you why. Because Marjorie Taylor Greene is the type of person that if you give her an inch, she'll take a mile. And the fact that they continue to allow her to break the rules of decorum over and over and over, whether it's the State of the Union that the president is delivering and she's wearing a MAGA hat or otherwise, the reason that she didn't have committee assignments before was because she did not know how to conduct herself as a member of Congress. And so if I just sit there and say, oh, well, Marjorie said it about me, what's to stop her to continue to do it again and again? And at the end of the day, I was elected as a representative of Congress, but that doesn't mean that I'm supposed to be somebody's doormat.
That is an excellent point. A number of excellent points that she raised. Number one, about Marjorie Taylor Greene's committee assignments. There's no way in hell anybody would openly welcome her onto any committee. She was able to leverage that as a part of negotiation for the speaker. Keep that in mind. Number two, she mentioned, I'm not here to be anybody's doormat. In other words, you actually already have regulations to prevent this thing from coming to a head that you refuse to respect, so you leave it upon me to have to defend myself because you won't protect me as an employee working while black. I also appreciate that she laid down that Marjorie Taylor Greene is a habitual line stepper. And we all know a habitual line stepper.
Step across the line. Habitually, he's a habitual line stepper.
Somebody who has been enabled by whether it's their significant other, by whether it's their old job, by whether it's their friend group, whatever the case may be, they think they can just act however they want without any repercussions, and then they bring that behavior to you. So then it becomes incumbent upon you to correct said behavior when that's not your job and you don't have the time or the inclination to raise another adult. But she had time today, and in that moment, she sunned Marjorie Taylor Greene. That is how you handle habitual line steppers. But if you do your job, we shouldn't have to.
Greene brushed off any criticism that she got over the last 24 hours, writing this: AOC isn't intelligent. Jasmine Crockett has fake eyelashes. These aren't attacks on personalities. These are just facts. CNN actually asked her for comment, and this is a statement that we received. She said the only member that brought up any reference to color was Congresswoman Crockett. She's putting that on you.
You have since called her racist, Congresswoman Greene. I want to understand your perspective of this. Do you think her going after your eyelashes, that in itself is racist?
I think her specifically doing it to me, yes, that was the intent. As has been stated, you know, women wear makeup, we wear lashes, we wear all types of things to beautify ourselves. But MAGA has historically been on social media doing the things where they're saying, oh, she's black with lashes and nails and hair, and so she's ghetto. And so to me, this was her buying into that rhetoric and trying to amplify this for the MAGA crowd. And so, yeah, I absolutely think that she only did it to be racist towards me.
Okay, so we are still hiding our hand. We are still throwing rocks and then hiding our hand, Marjorie Taylor Greene. These are just facts, right? These are just the facts that I just pulled out of thin air and happened to throw out there. Then why is it that the reaction to the worst of your constituency, and by that I mean internet constituency, not actually people using the internet in Georgia, because I don't know that they have the internet and see exactly what a fool you're acting like on Capitol Hill. But I'm talking about the worst of the MAGAs on the internet who immediately went with ghetto in criticizing Jasmine Crockett. They gave away the game. I don't know if you're on the internet and you saw that they gave away the game by immediately calling Jasmine Crockett ghetto, and you just happen to go with fake eyelashes. That's a nice try.
In that moment in the hearing room, why did you react the way that you did to the comment that Marjorie Taylor Greene made about you?
So I want to clarify that I actually did not react instantaneously. I actually was trying to allow the process to work. So you heard from AOC, who is our vice ranking member, and you heard from Jamie Raskin, who's our ranker, as we attempted to go through the process. And there was an agreement, and of course, Marjorie had to be Marjorie, and she refused to actually apologize. Therefore, I needed clarification as to why the chairman refused to actually take her words down, which meant that she would be kicked out of the committee room for the rest of the hearing, which would have been appropriate.
In other words, had you adjudicated this the way that you are supposed to, the way that you have instilled in Jasmine Crockett and everybody else who's sitting there in that committee room, had you actually followed through on the rules of decorum, she would have been ejected. And to Jasmine Crockett's credit, she actually did say nothing until this process had all played itself out. So it's your enabling of Marjorie Taylor Greene's behavior that brought this to a head. But yes, of course, Jasmine Crockett would be the ghetto one for adhering to the rules that you have laid down, that you refuse to enforce, and she refuses to respect, working while black.
But Michelle Obama famously said, when they go low, we go high. Are those days basically over?
I don't know that we can even call this a low. I mean, she goes to hell, and then I do my best to remind her as to why she should not cross me.
I appreciate you, Michelle Obama. When they go low, we go high. Maybe once, maybe twice. Not forever. No, we're not going high forever.
So one of your colleagues, Jamie Raskin, actually suggested that some members might have been drinking. Others have said that as well, making that suggestion. That's a pretty serious allegation. Do you think that that played a factor here?
I think with Marjorie Taylor Greene, it doesn't require alcohol for her to be unhinged. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't know. I don't have any facts to that. So, I won't say and I won't participate in rumors when I don't have any facts behind it.
Now, I just want you to imagine what the response would be if somebody from the MAGA crowd was given the question, saying that there was supposedly some drinking that was involved, and they had the opportunity to give life, air, and oxygen to that kind of supposition. Do you think they would take it? Do you think they would take it? Even in this moment, Jasmine Crockett is choosing to go high. I see you, girl.
Yeah, and I hear that, but she went after your appearance, and then you went out, you went back at her 1,000-fold.
I did, in a very lawyerly way.
But obviously she started it. I'm not disputing that. But
Yeah.
do you regret that at all?
I don't.
You don't?
I don't. Because here's the thing. I signed up to be a member of Congress. That didn't mean that I was supposed to walk into a position where I'm going to walk in and be disrespected. It's already a hostile work environment being there, and we do have rules. The problem with MAGA is that MAGA does not respect rules, nor do they respect the law. That is exactly why they're all running up to Trump's trial, because he's in trouble not because of some big conspiracy by the Biden administration. He's in trouble because he fails to respect the law. The reason that the Supreme Court right now is debating whether or not Trump can commit crimes or any president can commit crimes and then be let off is because they have no respect for law. The party of law and order is gone at this point in time.
Now, that may be the single biggest takeaway from all of this, and it's something that I've outlined in past episodes of Street Politics. Their refusal to adhere to the rules of decorum or the rules of law and think that they are above it. I just did a Racist of the Week about the Fox producer who just thought he could park whenever he wanted to and could drive around with his place expired, because it doesn't apply to him, right? And why would it, when you look up to a man who is right now running the Republican Party, who repeatedly feels like the rules don't apply to him, in fact, went all the way to the Supreme Court to say that the rules don't apply to him. So what is that pass that gives you the magic ability to do whatever you want and feel like the rules don't apply to you? What is it? Is it height? Is it hair color? I'm trying to figure that out. What is it? I'm trying to figure out where I can buy that pass to just go about life and do whatever I want and feel like the rules don't apply to me. Do they sell it at Costco? I have been on every aisle. I have yet to see the Mario star that just allows you to just roam free without any repercussions or clapback. I didn't know that existed. Then all of a sudden they come across one of us and we act like we live in the real world that has real life ramifications, and you act shocked. I also want to give a shout out to everybody who picked Congresswoman Crockett up on the internet and shared their own heartfelt stories, and also those who put it to song as well.
She's a bleached blonde, bad-built butch body, swinging for the fences, good God almighty. A heat-seeking missile, too scared to debate, cries like a baby when she don't get her way. Yeah, she can dish it out, but she sure can't take it. Her whole damn life, she just fakes it to make it. Nobody cares what she has to say. Some new eyelashes wouldn't help her anyway, 'cause she's a bleached blonde, bad-built butch body, swinging for the fences, good God almighty. A heat-seeking missile, too scared to debate, cries like a baby when she can't get her way. Yeah, she's out there pushing their propaganda. Can't get it done, just blame it on Brandon. She loves to talk tough, throw around her weight. Oh, baby girl, don't even play.
Last but not least, I gotta thank the racists for exposing themselves. Generally speaking, they give themselves some kind of cover, whether it be a DEI or blaming CRT, or looking at the children, or talking about our heritage and our history or something like that. Normally they'll give themselves some kind of cover for their racism. But in this moment where you clearly, everybody saw what happened, everybody saw who started it, and they still jumped out there with Ghetto and calling her everything but a child of God, just allowed the naked racism to roam free. And you know, quite frankly, I gotta feel happy for racism, because it's been a while since racism been able to roam free. You know, they always gotta be covered up by some bullshit argument. It must feel great for them to just really let the sun hit your butt and just really be able to free us. It's healthy. It's healthy. It's grounding for racism is what it is. Racism got some grounding by being able to just touch the ground and being free to express itself freely. Here's one that I particularly enjoyed. OMG, Jasmine Ghetto Crockett told CNN that MTG's joke about her eyelashes was absolutely racist. Everything is racist to these hood rats. Stop playing the race and victim card. She just really went and typed everything is racist to these hood rats with not a lick of self-awareness. I would love to be able to go about life with that little self-awareness. I really would. I really would. Like the things that would be possible if I could have that little self-awareness to type out everything is racist to these hood rats. Man, really it's a waste of potential. It is a real waste of potential that amount of unbridled confidence exists in somebody who's using their time on the internet in this way. There's also this one. Jasmine Crockett went on CNN and said she doesn't regret acting like a thug. Oh, they love using thug in Congress when she went unhinged with insane shouting and vulgarity against Rep. Marjorie Taylor Greene. Crockett is as low IQ and low class as you get. Expel her. Now, I have outlined myself, as has Jasmine Crockett outlined, the many ways in which Marjorie Taylor Greene has been a habitual line stepper when it comes to the rules of decorum, but it is Jasmine Crockett that needs to be expelled. And they also go with low IQ and low class. Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett has a law degree, and Marjorie Taylor Greene's highest level completed involves some form of CrossFit. Not to mention the fact that she couldn't even sit and be decent at the State of the Union address, which has been happening for decades. And there's been a lot of lunatics that have sat and watched the State of the Union address, just because we just have a lot of lunatics in society. They all were quiet. None of them wore hats. She wore a hat, but Jasmine Crockett has to be expelled, and she is low IQ and low class. I feel like it is high time we redefine the word ghetto. You know, I feel like it has really gotten away from its roots, because where I come from, you know, being ghetto would be some form of, I don't know, multiple baby mamas, on your third marriage with 81 cases, one of which involves you paying a sex worker. Like that would probably be pretty ghetto, or maybe being kicked out of a theater because you can't keep your hands to yourself as an adult, and then coming out and lying and saying that it wasn't you over vaping, which actually was far from the worst offense, but you let it get to that point because you challenged the vaping. Like that would probably be pretty, you know what I mean? That would probably be, vaping around a pregnant lady while you getting handsy. That would be pretty ghetto. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that'd be pretty ghetto. And that's before we even get to Marjorie Taylor Greene and the whole thing with the chef and the trainer. And, I feel like we need to redefine the word ghetto. And you know what? I got time. Like Jasmine Crockett said, I got time. So stay tuned.
Don't come for me. That is all that I need to tell her. Don't come for me.
Now I know what made Marvin Gaye want to holler. Yeah, I feel you, DMX. They gonna make me lose my mind. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. My name is Reese Waters, and I'm troubled. An Oklahoma Supreme Court has dismissed a lawsuit filed by the last known survivors of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre, who were seeking reparations for the destruction of their community. This ruling represents a significant moment in the ongoing quest for justice for the survivors and their descendants, highlighting the complexities and roadblocks thrown up when trying to address historical racial injustices through the legal system. The system that we use to address every other injustice in society. But when it comes to racial injustice, all of a sudden things are a little different. There's nothing just the victims of terrorism and mass violence. Leslie Benningfield Randall, 109, and Viola Ford Fletcher, 110, both survivors of the massacre, saw their lawsuit dismissed by the Oklahoma Supreme Court. The court upheld a lower court's ruling, stating that the grievances related to the massacre, despite being legitimate, did not fall under the state's public nuisance statute. So what does it fall under then? Huh? Is there a terrorism statute? Huh? Is there a hate crime statute? I know it wasn't in 1920 because you refused to even admit that was a thing. But this was not one, but two courts actually saw fit to dismiss this because it didn't fall under a specific statute. So you let me know what statute it falls under, unless there's not a statute that addresses terrorizing black people. Is that it? Now, this decision potentially marks the end of the legal road for Randall and Fletcher, who would hope for their day in court to seek reparations for the suffering and losses endured by their community. And by kicking the can down the road for a woman that's 109 and a woman that's 110, your clear strategy of wait them out becomes immediately clear. An all-American strategy. We'll just wait them out. What is it that you tell us whenever black people at large ask for reparations? Well, we don't know who the descendants are, and it's too many people now, and it's been so much time. Here you have the actual survivors, the actual victims of the Tulsa Race Massacre, and still you find some legalese way to not give them their proper remunerations. That is where we're at. Wait them out. Now we know. Now, Randall and Fletcher, who were children during the massacre, had hoped the court would recognize the ongoing impact of the event, which devastated the Greenwood district, known as Black Wall Street. They had testified about the massacre before a congressional committee, sharing their personal experiences of one of America's worst episodes of racial violence. The testimonies brought national attention to the massacre's long-term effects on the African-American community in Tulsa and the continued struggle for justice.
What do you remember about the time?
People getting killed and houses, property, schools, churches, and stores getting destroyed with fire. And then someone in the neighborhood saying to leave the neighborhood, if not, we're going to kill all of the black people. It just stays with me, It's just the fear that I have lived in Tulsa since, but it's I don't sleep all night living there.
The lawsuit filed in 2020 when there were 3, by the way. Now they are 2, and that's where you see the effects of wait them out. The lawsuit was an attempt to hold the state accountable for the massacre's lasting effects. The plaintiffs couldn't appeal, though, to the U.S. Supreme Court because their case was based on state law. And there I would ask you, what would be the point of appealing to the U.S. Supreme Court? Because we know exactly who sits on the U.S. Supreme Court. If they are coming for Brown versus Board of Education, I can only imagine what Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito would have to say about the Tulsa Race Massacre. Well, what did y'all do? Huh? What? It sound like you might have brought it on yourselves. Hey, do we have a mutual combat law? We have a mutual combat law that we could retroactively apply to the 1920s. The way you will bend yourselves backwards to do wrong by black people is insane. The Oklahoma Supreme Court ruled that issues related to generational inequities stemming from the massacre should be addressed by policymakers, not courts. Way to pass the buck. That is a way to pass the buck. So now I understand that when it comes to historical injustice, we can't address them directly like you would do in a court. When it comes to any other injustice, we just have to innocently wait for a legislature or a policymaker to, out of the goodness of their heart, just bestow upon us what was taken away. Is that what it is? Now, the ruling underscores the limitations of the judicial system in addressing complex historical injustices that have long-term socioeconomic impacts. Actually, did I say historical injustices? Sorry, I meant black injustices. Now, I will give credit where it's due. After the end of the Tuskegee experiment, in which 399 black men with syphilis were left untreated to study the progression of the disease between 1932 and 1972, the government reached a $10 million out-of-court settlement with the victims and their families in 1974. In 1994, the state of Florida agreed to a reparations package worth around $3.36 million to the victims of the Rosewood Massacre in 1923. And while most American states practiced one or another form of eugenics during the 20th century with forced sterilizations of people deemed unfit, only one state, North Carolina, set up a reparations program. The state sterilized about 7,600 people, most of whom are no longer living, but passed a $10 million reparations program in 2013 that should give the more than 177 living victims somewhere in the range of $50,000. You know how bad you gotta be for North Carolina, Tennessee, and Florida to look at you like you really should do the right thing? North Carolina, Tennessee, and Florida are looking at you like, what's wrong with you, Oklahoma? Why don't you do right by them? And it is a really good thing that they got that passed in Florida before DeSantis came in, because I could only imagine when he was, oh no, we can't correct that racial injustices because it would make white children feel bad. Yeah, it would make white children feel bad. So we can't give back what was taken away. You know, yeah, the goods that they're currently taking advantage of. Oh, but wait, there's more. America has seen fit to give reparations for Japanese internment camps. They've seen fit to even give reparations for Holocaust survivors. Oklahoma themselves in 1996 paid the families of the Oklahoma City bombing $50 million to assist them as victims of terrorism and mass violence for something that happened in 1995. So let me get my calculator out, because that happened in 1995, and they got their money in 96. Okay, so this happened in 1923, and they've been trying to get redress ever since 1923. I'm trying to figure out who would be first in line on that. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Who would be first in line? Because you have actual survivors, so you can't even hit me with the not direct impact. So you can't even hit me with that. Like, you got direct. I'm just trying to figure out what that line was looking like for reparations. I mean, that's crazy. Now, lead attorney Demario Solomon Simmons addressed profound disappointment, as well he should, calling the massacre a state-sponsored atrocity and criticizing the decision as a setback for racial justice. He stated the legal team would petition for reconsideration and urge the U.S. Department of Justice to investigate the effects of 1921 and their lasting impact on the Greenwood community. Now, Tulsa officials stated their commitment to economic development in North Tulsa and Greenwood and emphasized ongoing efforts to support the affected communities through various initiatives aimed at revitalizing the area. In other words, we'll do right by you as long as we can find a way to make money too. Yeah. If we can find a way to make money too, then we'll throw y'all a little change. Yeah, I know it's your change, but we just gonna hold it till we can find a way where we can make it into more change for us. Y'all ain't slick. Greenwood was a thriving community before being destroyed in 1921 by a white mob, resulting in the deaths of up to 300 African Americans and significant property damage. The massacre not only caused immediate devastation, but also erased generational wealth that had been built in a time of significant racial oppression. No one was held accountable for the massacre, and survivors received no compensation. The event was long buried in history, only coming to public attention decades later. The lawsuit aimed to highlight the continued economic and social disparities resulting from the massacre, arguing that the damage done over 2 days in 1921 had long-lasting repercussions that still affect the community today. But wait, it gets worse, Oklahoma.
The community did rebuild after the 1921 massacre, and then this highway, built right through the heart of the district as part of federal highway acts in the 60s, dealt it a final blow.
The highway separated the business district from traffic flow, from access.
What does this highway represent to you?
The second destruction of Black Wall Street.
Defendants, including Tulsa County officials and the Oklahoma Military Department, argued that the plaintiffs lacked standing to sue and that the governmental agencies involved were protected by sovereign immunity at the time of the massacre. They contended that holding current entities accountable for past actions under today's legal standards would set a problematic precedent. So let's take those one at a time. The plaintiffs lack the standing to sue. If survivors and direct victims lack the standing to sue, who has the standing to sue? What does Oklahoma courts look like when an actual direct victim doesn't have the standing to sue? Then you said the governmental agencies were protected by sovereign immunity at the time of the massacre. Wow. I wonder if that was something that was communicated to the people, that there was sovereign immunity and that they had absolutely no expectations of justice whatsoever. I wonder what other agencies are protected by sovereign immunity and which has victimized people and people have seen fit to give them reparations and redress, right? We don't always look at the sovereign immunity. Sometimes we do the right thing because we know that somebody has been wrong. But in this particular instance, we're pointing to the sovereign immunity. You also contended that holding current entities accountable for past actions under today's legal standards would set a problematic precedent. Well, it only sets a problematic precedent if those agencies in the past had, terrorized and caused the deaths of 300 Black people. Then it only sets a problematic precedent. If they were decent, it wouldn't be a problem, now would it? I don't understand why we have laws at all if these are the excuses they are giving to not do right by these folks. Now, in an emotional joint statement, Randall and Fletcher addressed their determination to seek justice despite the legal challenges. They emphasized their long journey and the importance of holding the perpetrators accountable, and their resilience in the face of legal setbacks underscores the broader struggle for justice and recognition of historical wrongs. Solomon Simmons argued before the Oklahoma Supreme Court, highlighting the plaintiffs' unique position as actual survivors of the massacre and the ongoing denial of responsibility by those involved. He stressed that the massacre wasn't just a historical event, but a source of continued trauma and economic disparity for the survivors and their descendants. And you can see the emotion in the reaction of founder of Black Wall Street Times, Nehemiah D. Frank, after the verdict was read.
I'm so fucking angry right now. I hate doing camera shit. I hate it, man. Don't even have the capacity to even talk about this shit. But I'm fucking angry. And the sad thing is I already knew what the fuck ruling was gonna be. because Oklahoma is that place. It is that place where black people see little justice in that place.
The dismissal marks a significant moment in the survivors' pursuit of justice, reflecting broader challenges and addressing historical racial injustices through the legal system. The ruling by the Oklahoma Supreme Court underscores the roadblocks to prevent redress for historical wrongs and highlights the need for comprehensive approaches that involve both legal and policy solutions. The survivors' journey, marked by their advanced age and the long delay in seeking justice, illustrates the enduring impact of the Tulsa Race Massacre on their lives and the lives of their descendants. As the fight for justice continues, it remains crucial to acknowledge and address the historical context and ongoing consequences of such tragic events. The efforts of Randall Fletcher and their legal team continues to shed light on the enduring legacy of the Tulsa Race Massacre and the need for persistent advocacy in the pursuit of justice. If not them, then who? If they can't get justice, what expectation can any of us ever have for reparation? And you know who I blame? Andrew Johnson. I blame Andrew Johnson because it was him who wrecked Lincoln's Reconstruction Plan that prevented us from getting our 40 acres and a mule in the first place. And he was hoping that America would be racist in perpetuity, that they would never see fit to do right by his wrong. And you know what? He was right. Anarchy, which apparently is the thing that Greg Abbott wants to see in Texas when you wink, wink, nod, nod to this kind of thing. Welcome to Racist of the Week, where we expose the stupidity and hypocrisy of discrimination in hopes we can build a more perfect union. And also laugh. As usual, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Racism. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the page, and definitely leave me any possible suggestions for nominees in the comments. Oh, him? Don't worry about him. He needed to see this and exactly what his state has become. Today, we have two nominees, starting with Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Now, so many of you guys recommended Greg Abbott for Racist of the Week. I feel like I should probably name the award after him for at least a month or so, maybe beyond that. But this month, the Texas Parole Board unanimously recommended the pardon and release of Daniel Perry, a former U.S. Army sergeant convicted of killing Garrett Foster, a white man attending a Black Lives Matter protest with his black fiancée. Now, Perry was working as an Uber driver in July 2020, shot Foster, and was subsequently convicted and sentenced to 25 years in prison. Almost a year after his sentencing, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who you may know from such highs as praising the cops in Uvalde, granted Perry a pardon and restored his firearm rights and released him from prison. That's right, 1 year later, the man gets released from prison and also got his firearm rights restored. They didn't even see fit to think, you know what, maybe we shouldn't have this man just roaming around with a gun after what just occurred. I mean, did you just drop him off at a gun store? Or better yet, you just handed him back the evidence that you confiscated when you prosecuted him in the first place. Have a good day. Now, the pardon sends a troubling message. Politically motivated killings may be acceptable, and politicians prioritizing political pressure over public safety. Perry claims self-defense, but his actions and prior statements cast doubt on this justification. Now this is a moment in Law and Order where the attorneys are looking for something that could possibly give them some insight into his motive. It could go either way with the jury. If only we had something that would tell us that this was intentional. If only we had something that would put us in his mind at the time. Oh wait, during Perry's trial, it emerged that in the weeks before the incident, he had shared white supremacist memes and talked about how he, quote, might have to kill a few people who were demonstrating outside his house in 2020. There it is right there. Oh man, that's not it. There's more? Oh, there's more. He also compared Black Lives Matter movement to, quote, a zoo full of monkeys that are freaking out, flinging their shit. And days into nationwide protests sparked by George Floyd, Perry sent a text message saying, I might go to Dallas to shoot looters. The man said, I might have to go to Dallas and shoot looters. And that's who you pardon? On the day of the incident, Perry drove into a crowd of predominantly black protesters, ran a red light, and shot Foster, who was legally carrying a firearm but hadn't threatened Perry, according to eyewitnesses. Well, that is pretty heavy-handed, I would say, even for a Law and Order episode. Like, one of those things would have been enough to convict. But all of those things, they're just getting lazy at Law and Order. They are just getting, that's too much evidence. That is too much evidence. I mean, of course you're going to convict. And they did. Yet Governor Greg Abbott, under political pressure from conservative media and political figures, directed the parole board to review Perry's case shortly after his conviction, leading to the pardon. So we have cliques driving content, driving policy. We have people that are looking to say the most incendiary things possible to garner attention for their particular cause, being the ones that are pressuring people that are actually affecting people's lives and changing policy, even the justice system. Why not just let the people vote? I mean, really, why not just let the people vote? Why have it be so indirect as go through all the trouble of having a trial, and then it depends on how my people react to it and my constituency react to it. Well, they're upset. Well, now I got to do. Why not just let them vote? Why not just let them vote? There's no reason to have a trial because you clearly disrespected everybody who sat on that jury. But then again, Greg Abbott didn't see fit to pardon Crystal Mason, who got the 5-year sentence for voting illegally, despite it being a provisional ballot. And there was substantial pressure and attention given to that injustice. So let me see, you got pressure here and you got pressure here. So really, it's not about the pressure, it's about the direction of the pressure. I think I got it. So some pressure you listen to and some pressure you don't. I think I understand. So Abbott's decision reflects the influence of wealthy gun lobbyists and the state's permissive self-defense and open carry laws. Foster's death exemplifies the deadly consequences of those very laws themselves. Even Texas police recognize the dangers of open carry laws, as noted by Ray Hunt, executive director of the Houston Police Officers Union. Despite this, Abbott used the pardon announcement to reaffirm Texas's strong stay in your ground laws and signaling support for armed right-wingers to act violently without fear of legal consequences. That exactly is the message that he is sending. Wink, wink, nod, nod, I got your back. And Greg Abbott, exactly how does that go? Go ahead and play the tape through. So exactly how was that go? Just armed conflict in the streets? The very thing that you point to when you talk about all these liberal cities burning, where all the people who influenced you, all of these right-wing talking heads who influence you love to pick out content of just anarchy, which apparently is the thing that Greg Abbott wants to see in Texas when you wink, wink, nod, nod to this kind of thing. Very well done. Now, Greg Abbott has absolutely earned the right to be Racist of the Week all by himself. He 1,000% has earned it. Me giving away 2 does in no way lessen the despicable attitudes exhibited by both of these two. So I don't want Greg Abbott to feel bad that I'm giving away another Racist of the Week. You are a very deserving Racist of the Week, sir. You are as racist as we have had honored in this here space. However, our second nominee, because this cannot go ignored, the Shenandoah County, Virginia School Board. So earlier this month, a Virginia school district voted to reverse a 2020 decision and restore the names of Confederate military officers to 2 schools. The Shenandoah County School Board decided to rename Honey Run Elementary and Mountain View High back to Ashby Lee Elementary and Stonewall Jackson High, respectively. Now, if you had never changed it in the first place, the argument was that we are preserving our heritage, we're preserving our history. But how does this look in the light of day that you changed it back? Exactly what case are you leaving the racists of the future? We don't want kids to feel bad, so that's why we took it down. Well, why did you put it back? We decided we didn't care. Yeah, we just decided that we didn't care. So we put Stonewall Jackson back up there. That's what happened. These schools were originally renamed in 2020 amid the national protests. You guys remember, the protests sparked a reevaluation of racial discrimination and the veneration of Confederate figures who fought to preserve slavery during the Civil War. In 2020, the school board voted 5-1 to remove the names of Captain Turner Ashby, Lieutenant General Thomas Jonathan Stonewall Jackson, and General Robert E. Lee from the schools. However, this being Virginia and all, there was significant backlash from county residents. A motion to reverse the name changes failed in 2022 due to a tie, and recently the Coalition for Better Schools, a local group opposing the name changes, argued that the majority of the district supported restoring their original names. And you have to love the Coalition for Better Schools making it their mission to return the name of Confederate officers to a school. Thanks for making the school better. That is well done. Well done, Coalition. And exactly how does that look that you decided to change it in 2020 and then here it is 4 years later and you decided to change it back? Because if I was a cynical person in 2020, I would have said, you know what? They don't mean none of this. They don't mean none of this. You put the black square on Instagram. This is all performance. None of this is really meaningful. And here you are. You took all of 4 years later and you already changed it back. You sure it's no other Confederate officers that you feel like you want to honor? I mean, go ahead and change all the black people whose names are on schools to Confederate officers. That is, if you have any. Now, the group contended that the legacy of Stonewall Jackson is an important part of local history and that the community values and historical connections to Turner Ashby and Robert E. Lee. What are those community values? I would love to know. What exactly are those community values? Fighting for slavery? Is that the value? I'm just trying to figure out what the values are. You know what I mean? Since we are so invested in Stonewall Jackson and Turner Ashby. And let's also take it out of the context of the Civil War. Let's say he was engaged in some other activity in his personal life. And it is extremely hard to find something comparable to fighting to preserve slavery. It's really hard for me to come off the top of my head with something that's comparable. But let's just say he was engaged in some other activity in his personal life. He was extremely violent and had treated people the way that people had been treated at that time, my people. Would that be something that you would still put him up? Like, let's say it wasn't black people. Let's say it was just a group of white people that they were trying to keep in bondage. Let's say he just had some white people out back that he was enslaving and was fighting to keep enslaved. Would you keep his name up then? Would you keep his name up then? Oh, but because it's us. It's fine, right? Yeah, I get it. Shenandoah County's decision reflects a broader national debate about the place of historical figures who fought for the Confederacy and preservation of slavery. In 2020, a statue of Robert E. Lee was removed from the Virginia state legislature after a unanimous vote. And at the time, Virginia's then governor, Ralph Northam, stated that the Confederacy symbolizes Virginia's racist and divisive history. Of course, following those protests in 2020, right-wing politicians have increasingly targeted movements promoting diversity and inclusion, Several states have passed laws threatening schools that teach about racial inclusion, accusing such curriculums of being anti-white. Virginia Governor Glenn Youngkin has supported efforts to eliminate diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, calling them divisive and racist. And this just provides another head on the mantle where you can say, you own the libs. That's right. I don't care how backwards we are moving. Now, I don't care how backwards we are moving. We own the libs. Now, I don't care what it teaches the kids. I care that we own the libs, and I could post on True Social and feel good about myself. Why is it that when we are preserving our heritage, it is just the Confederacy and honoring those who fought to preserve slavery? Why is it just those? I mean, you don't preserve your heritage. Yeah, when I get wounded, I just grab a filthy rag and put it on it and hope gangrene doesn't set in which case I just have to cut it off. And in some cases, I go to leeches. Yeah, I do leeches. Oh, how are you going to get down to the county? I take the railway. Yeah, I don't do cars. I'm preserving my heritage. So I take the railway. And if I'm going long distance, we do hot air balloon. That's what we do. Why don't you keep, if we preserving heritage, it's funny. I'm preserving my heritage. This is part of American history. But only this is the thing that you feel the need to preserve. Don't act slick. And by the way, I also think it's hilarious that it is anti-white to hold the Confederacy accountable. That's anti-white. It is anti-white to hold the Confederacy accountable. I understand. So you can actively plot against the government, which is, by the way, the thing that they deny happened on January 6th, right? We can't get as far away from that as we possibly can. No, this wasn't anybody trying to take over the government. Well, we know the Confederacy was trying to take over the government. Let's put their name on a school. Yeah, let us do that. It's okay to be actively anti-black, but if you pose it, it's anti-white. Got it. I actually already deconstructed this entire argument right here. But congratulations to Texas Governor Greg Abbott and the Shenandoah County, Virginia School Board. You are our Racists of the Week. As always, if you have somebody you would like to nominate, go ahead and leave it in the comments, or you can email me at reese.waters@gmail.com, and be sure to subscribe to the page to make sure you get notified when the next video drops.
See all the white people around Will Smith all you want to. Black folks have loved and revered this man for decades. But you got to have a conversation as to why you did that.
How about the family of the young men and women who were killed and were slandered on Fox News airwaves by Sean Hannity? How should they feel? Hi, my name is Reese Waters, and I'm troubled. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. Now, y'all probably remember the last time we discussed ESPN's Stephen A. Smith.
As much as people may have been abhorred by Donald Trump's statement weeks ago, talking about how black folks, he's hearing that black folks find him relatable because what he's going through is similar to what black Americans have gone through. He wasn't lying. He was telling the truth. When you see the law enforcement, the court system, and everything else being exercised against him, it is something that black folks throughout this nation can relate to with some of our historic, iconic figures. We've seen that happen throughout society. So no matter what race, what ethnicity you may emanate from, we relate to you when you're suffering like that, because we know we have.
Yeah, because who can't remember the 91 indictments that Dr. King had when he was on his third wife, after he had cheated on Coretta, married a side piece, and then left her for the jet beauty of the week that had posed nude overseas? Yeah. Don't you find it odd that a man who's been in litigation since the 70s Since the 70s, he's been in litigation. And of course, this time it's politically motivated. All the rest of the time, he was just doing dirt. But of course, he's not doing dirt now. Now it's politically motivated. You don't find it odd that a man all of a sudden on the precipice of an election where he's trying to mobilize black voters now decides that he wants to identify with the black condition? That doesn't strike you as suspicious at all? Now, Stephen A. Smith, you are a veteran in these media streets. I would expect you to see through things like this, but you did give us what I called the worst apology in Fox News history.
I sincerely apologize. To be clear, my words were misconstrued. I'm stating right here for the record that my words were taken out of context, misrepresenting and depicting me in a way I found every bit as insulting and disrespectful as folks in Black America evidently felt about what they thought I said.
Now that is straight out of the MAGA playbook. You gonna believe me or your lying ears? Man, we got you in 4K. I don't know who you trying to fool with that apology. That apology was straight garbage. That apology had bad feet. That apology couldn't catch. That apology couldn't play a lick of defense. That apology was a bona fide scrub. That apology can't play. I don't know what you want from me. Now, links to both of those videos are in the description, by the way. And we never got a full explanation for the Smith Shuffle, which is why I found this particularly interesting.
When we use the word forgivable or forgiveness, that's for Chris Rock to deal with. It's his call. He could have had the man arrested that night and insisted to the LAPD that that not be the case. Could have pressed charges thereafter and insisted on not doing that to Will Smith, not making the incident any bigger than what it was. Yes, he came out with his own flick for next fix, got about $20 million for it. After taxes, he probably walked home with about $6 million. But Chris Rock is damaged. In the day and age of mental illness or traumatic incidences that affects one's mind and psyche and what have you, yeah, you might see him at Knicks games. Yeah, you might see him still going about the business of performing on tour or doing his job or handling his business. Chris Rock will never get over that. Ever.
Now, let me first say, I do appreciate Stephen A. Smith advocating for Chris Rock. It is possible to support both. You can be somebody who backs Will Smith, but also can hold him accountable. And you advocating for Will Smith doesn't have to come at the expense of Chris Rock, who was the slappee. He did nothing wrong in this instance. You don't have to make him the villain in this scenario. I would also say, as somebody that started on stand-up stages, the idea of us just freeing people to just react however they feel like they want to react from the crowd would pretty much end stand-up as we know it. And I know that people enjoy stand-up comedy. I don't think that's something that they would want to see. But when you advocate for Will Smith and him expressing himself in the way that he did, that's exactly where that goes. But I'm not here to talk about that. That's for a different channel that I told you that I might start up. By the way, I appreciate all you guys that voted in that poll and supported me starting a new channel to talk about more pop culture things. That poll is still up, by the way. But that's not actually what I'm here to discuss. This is a political channel, and I'm here to discuss some politics. This is what got me in my feelings.
Will Smith apologized. I'm not saying he even has to apologize. I'm saying that while I watch him and Martin Lawrence promoting this movie, and I'm quite sure the reason he hasn't addressed it is because the studios don't want him to, and there's an obligation that you have with them, all fair, I get it. But somewhere along the way, he has to sit down and talk to the black community. You can see all the white people around Will Smith all you want to. Black folks have loved and revered this man for decades. He was the closest thing to perfection, as his friend Charlie Mack once told me, for decades. Everybody makes a mistake. This is not hatred. I love Will Smith still. But you got to have a conversation. as to why you did that. And when you're apologizing, and when you're getting emotional, and when you're thinking about all the lives or the people that you've affected, it's primarily us as black people who have loved and supported you and watched you go on an international stage and slap one of us in the face.
Now, I'm really glad you brought that up, Stephen A., because I've been wondering this whole time when we were going to start having these conversations as a black family as to why you did that, because we never got a real explanation for what you said or where you stand. And I'm not one of those people that would hold you accountable for criticizing athletes. I understand that you have a job, and when you criticize what you see on the field or on the court, that is your responsibility. But sometimes that criticism really goes off of the court and off of the field, and that is something that I will hold you accountable for. You remember threatening Kevin Durant a couple of years ago? Because I do. I also remember the many aspersions that you cast on Kyrie Irving, even advocating that he should retire. And a lot of that went well beyond what was happening on the floor. Now, I must put front and center, because how can I not, the many times that you appeared alongside your friend, Sean Hannity.
500 people getting $53 million, and you're right, that's going to lead to a Trump victory. You're not wrong on that.
I'm looking so forward to my podcast, No Mercy, tomorrow. It'll be posted tomorrow. Me talking to the one and only Sean Hannity.
There are way too many people in this country that want socialism.
Right.
But socialism, I wrote a chapter in my last book, Live Free or Die.
That's right.
Socialism, whatever form, manifestation, name, every time it's promised, promises are never fulfilled. It always ends in more poverty and a loss of freedom.
Do you see Joe Biden as a president with serious cognitive decline?
I don't like what I see at times, Sean, but I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to go that far and be disrespectful towards the president of the United States. But I respect the fact that other people see things and they wish that he seemed a bit more stable at times and not as forgetful as he has been sometimes. I'll admit that much.
Now, the way that you characterize Will Smith slapping Chris Rock and the damage that did to the black community pales in comparison to the damage that Sean Hannity and his misinformation and his demonization of black people going back decades on Fox News airwaves has done to the black community. Somebody who you call your friend.
He hates to admit he's a friend of mine. You can admit it. Just say it. My friend Stephen A. Smith is here.
Of course we're friends, man. And you're able to make peace with that. But this slap is the thing that you have such a problem with. So you're able to make peace and be friends and huck it up with the guy who demonized Trayvon Martin. That was totally fine. The guy who said that there was no evidence for systemic racism in policing, the guy who had nothing but the worst things to say about us merely saying that Black Lives Matter, that is the guy that you're able to be friends with. But this is something that hurts you, that you feel like you need an answer to the black community from Will Smith. I'm trying to understand where you're coming from here, and all of a sudden it makes a little bit more sense why you would say that black kids probably shouldn't wear hoodies after the Trayvon Martin incident. That is straight out of the Sean Hannity playbook. At the one hand, I want to say, well, it's good that you're appearing on their airwaves because it's about time that they hear from some different voices. At the same time, I know that they don't put anybody on those airwaves unless they're going to push certain narratives or they're going to be run over so they could push their own. And you're all too willing to do the former. I also would love an answer for why it was in the Colin Kaepernick scenario that you were so willing to take the NFL's account of things. Yes, when you have two parties that are in litigation against one another and one pushes the second to settle, that generally means there's some stuff that they're trying to hide. At this point in 2024, we've accepted that the man was blackballed, but yet all along the way, you were willing to accept the NFL's narrative of the chain of events, even going as so far as to call Colin Kaepernick out of his name and say that he didn't actually want to play. Why would you believe what the NFL is feeding you when you understand that they are at odds with Colin Kaepernick and have a ton of things to hide, to the point where your ex-co-host Max Kellerman actually had to be the voice of reason, which gave way to that whole T.O. incident where he said that Max is blacker than you.
So what he wanted was transparency, for people to see the full workout, to see the full Colin Kaepernick. Again, you mentioned obviously Max is going to get in here, and like I said, I'm in the streets. Max almost seems blacker than you, Stephen A. with what he's coming, with his commentary.
With all due respect, my brother.
I'm just saying, dog.
Wait a minute. Wait to finish.
I'm just saying.
I'm going to check you right now. You don't cross the line.
I'm just saying.
Time. Wait a minute. You don't cross the line.
And that whole thing got extremely ugly. I don't want to get us all sidetracked into that, but you guys feel free to look it up when you have some time. I would love an answer. I would love an answer for why when Jerry Jones was revealed back in 1957, and yes, this is Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, when he was revealed back in 1957 to have been one of the white students who was on scene as they tried to prevent 6 black students from integrating North Little Rock High School. Why you were so willing to give him a pass. You really didn't seem to want to address this at all. And I understand this is a man who you have a great relationship with. I mean, I wouldn't call it you and Sean Hannity tight, but it seems to be pretty tight. So does that, is that really, that causes a subjugation of the greater ramifications of him being one of the folks that's actually trying to prevent a high school from being integrated back in the 50s? Does your personal relationship really take precedence? So you speak truth to power unless I have a personal relationship. Like, is that what it is? And I understand, yes, it was a long time ago and he was a teenager, but I also find it curious. Have you ever heard him talk about that day and how it affected his perception of race? Have you ever heard him talk about how that day really changed him forever? You ever heard him say anything like that? No. He actually never mentioned it again until he was outed. Now, why is it that somebody who was on scene for something like that would never mention it, if not for it being something that he's not particularly proud of? And we're also making a lot of excuses for his potential age. It looked to me like he was around his contemporaries. So would he then be free to be an active participant and he would still be absolved because of his young age? You even went so far as to, on your platform, say that he didn't deserve this.
And let me say this. I'm pissed off, but not for reasons that people would think. I'm very, very fond of Jerry Jones, and I'm not hiding that from anybody. Is his record perfect? No. But I'm pissed off because he doesn't deserve what just happened. He doesn't deserve it. Our report said he was 14 years old. Yeah. Another report said he was 15 years old. At minimum, that's 65 years ago.
That's right. Poor old Jerry Jones didn't deserve this. That is who I choose to feel sorry for in this moment, is Jerry Jones. You know who I feel sorry for? Obviously, I feel sorry for those poor children back in 1957. I also feel sorry for any minority coaching candidates that have gone in front of Jerry Jones because he hasn't seen fit to hire one. I find that a bit interesting, so I can't really give him credit for the redemption arc back in 1957 when this is how he's moved as an adult. You want to hold him accountable for that, Stephen A? Oh, wait, no, I forgot. That's your friend.
I'm very, very fond of Jerry Jones.
I wonder how good friends you are with Dana White, because you definitely saw fit to glaze over when the video of him and his wife out in Vegas became public. And we all know how you would react if that had been a player. We all know how you would have reacted if that had been one of us. But with Dana White, we're treading lightly. That is interesting. That is some interesting relationships you got there with Jerry Jones and Dana White and Sean Hannity, and how can I forget Sheriff Clark? Oh, I definitely can't forget Sheriff Clark. Because it is really fascinating. I can only imagine the kinds of conversations that you have about the criminal justice system and the plight of Black America with Sheriff Clark. I'm sure those are some really interesting conversations that you're having.
He has to sit down and talk to the Black community. You can see all the white people around Will Smith all you want to. Black folks have loved and revered this man for decades. He was the closest thing to perfection, as his friend Charlie Mack once told me, for decades. Everybody makes a mistake. This is not hatred. I love Will Smith still. But you got to have a conversation as to why you did that. And when you're apologizing, and when you're getting emotional, and when you're thinking about all the lives or the people that you've affected, it's primarily us as Black people who have loved and supported you and watched you go on an international stage and slap one of us in the face and tarnished an historic event for one of the great Black producers of modern times in Will Packer, possibly costing yourself and Antoine Fuqua an Oscar for emancipation along the way.
Stephen A. is right to bring up those who are affected. There are a lot of people that were impacted that don't immediately come to mind, and we have to take into consideration all of the unintended consequences of our actions. As will I. How about the people that were wrongfully pressed by the criminal justice system? How should they react? How should they be affected by the fact that all of a sudden you decide to identify with a man who has been in litigation for decades, who comes with a cadre of lawyers, who has people on Capitol Hill willing to help him violate his gag order, who has judges in his pocket in Eileen Cannon, who has placed people on the Supreme Court who he expects them to be beholden to him? How might those people feel? How might those people feel? You know, the people without all of the lawyers and the people without all of the money being donated to them and the people that can't violate the gag order, the people that don't have judges in their pockets. How exactly might they feel hearing you say that we identify with him because of how he's being treated by the criminal justice system? Here's a better question. How should the Central Park Five feel? How should the Central Park Five feel about you advocating for us associating ourselves with Donald Trump? I got a better one. How about Kwame Jackson? How should he feel? You know, the guy who Trump dropped the N on, right? How should Kwame Jackson feel? You know, former candidate for The Apprentice. How about the family of the young men and women who were killed and were slandered on Fox News airwaves by Sean Hannity? How should they feel? How should the family of Trayvon Martin feel? Or the family of Mike Brown feel? How should the family of George Floyd feel? How should they feel watching you buddy up to Sean Hannity?
I'm not going to say what you did to the comedic community. Hell, Jim Carrey spoke about that along with various others. We know you wouldn't have smacked Ricky Gervais, Bill Maher, Bill Burr, or a host of others. We know you wouldn't have done that. No apology necessary. I'm just saying, a lot of folks ain't get over that. A lot of folks find it hard to just go to the movies to watch you. I'm one of those people. And I never missed a Will Smith movie. Hitch, Concussion, all the Bad Boys movie from the first one to y'all with Gabrielle Union, who, by the way, should have been in 3 and 4, by the way. Along with a host of other things. I Am Legend. Independence Day, Men in Black, 1, 2, and 3. Will Smith, you're phenomenal. Phenomenal talent, phenomenal actor, phenomenal individual. You lost your way one night. We need to hear that from you. I'm sorry. That's what I need to do before I look forward to seeing your movies again, more than seeing a sit down.
You know, he's right to bring up that angle. It was a very convenient time and a very convenient target for his rage. And we can ask that question, but I think we know that if you take him out of that scenario and you use somebody else, the chances of him doing that are a little lower. Just like it was convenient for you to echo that Fox News talking point on Sean Hannity, right? Like that was a convenient time and place for you to just go along with the Fox News talking points. Because I have to wonder if you would bring that same energy to Joy Reid. I wonder if you would sit across from Joy Reid and tell her about how we identify with Donald Trump because of his issues with the law. I wonder if you would bring that same energy to Al Sharpton. I think we know the answer to that. So if we're sitting down and having conversations, you know, getting answers on behalf of the black community, let's start with you. You ever wonder to yourself, is Laura Ingraham really that miserable? Or is it a team of miserable people that come together like a hateful Voltron and they put this long face on it? Well, your answer? Probably both. Welcome to a special edition of Racist of the Week, where we expose the stupidity and hypocrisy of discrimination in hopes we can build a more perfect union. And as always, laugh. As usual, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Racism. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the page, and definitely leave me any possible suggestions for nominees in the comments. Today's nominee is Fox News producer Connor Clegg. You ever wonder to yourself, is Laura Ingraham really that miserable?
All right, ready for some humor? Black Lives Matters. That's the humor.
Or is it a team of miserable people that come together like a hateful Voltron and they put this long face on it?
It's always unwise to seek political advice from someone who gets paid $100 million a year to bounce a ball. Oh, and LeBron and Kevin, you're great players, but no one voted for you. Millions elected Trump to be their coach. So keep the political commentary to yourself, or as someone once said, shut up and dribble.
A few moments later.
Well, he's allowed to have his view about what kneeling and the flag means to him. I mean, he's a person. He has some worth, I would imagine. I mean, this is beyond football, though.
Well, your answer? Probably both.
So they're reaching out to the flag burners and the America haters. If you felt embarrassed and angry to see this type of woke nonsense at the White House during a time Christians have regarded as holy for 2,000 years or so, well, that's the point. They wanted to offend you. They did it on purpose because they think their supporters like that sort of thing, and they do.
Enter Connor Clegg, a producer for Laura Ingraham after previous stints with Carrie Lake and Charlie Kirk. So you know this is coming all the way from the dumpster. Now, I wouldn't have known Clegg's name, except he made sure we remembered it after he posted this. Just had a parking enforcement office who barely spoke a lick of English attempt to load my car onto a tow truck because I was allegedly blocking some type of very important alleyway where I was parked. I'm gonna go ahead and stop you right there, player. Did you just give me grammatical errors while you complaining about somebody else's English? Like, I know he didn't just give me a grammatical error while he complained about somebody else. Is that what just happened? Okay, I was just checking. Is that what just happened? Okay, I got it. Okay. He said, we have to move your car. Told him, no, sir, I'll move it myself. Thanks, sorry for the trouble. Very polite. That's pretty Trumpian also. He then says in his broken tongue, yes, but your plates are also expired. You have to follow law, sir. We have to tow. It's too late. You can't move your car. And an accent and diction so thick and faulty, it was nearing Aboriginal levels. Okay, so you're complaining that his accent is so thick and faulty, but it sounds to me like he communicated with you just fine. Yeah, it sounds to me like he communicated with you just fine. So I'm trying to figure out exactly what the issue is. And also, kudos points for bringing Aborigines into it. I proceeded to get in my car and leave because as someone descended from those who form the very concept of law, he meekly was attempting to enforce. That is my birthright. And there's not a damn thing a foreigner with a tin badge and poorly tailored pants can do to stop me. What happened to just comply? What happened to just comply? Why don't you comply? I mean, what is so hard? Why don't you just comply? What happened to Back to Blue? I could have sworn it was Back to Blue yesterday, right? Yesterday was Back to Blue, and today it is I am descendant from those who form the very concept of law he meekly was attempting to enforce. So it sounds like he was honoring your forefathers that you are disrespecting by all of this, okay? Now let's get into what he's saying here, okay? He's saying as someone descendant from those who form the very concept of the law, he was meekly attempting to enforce. That is my birthright. So basically, your whiteness, right? Your whiteness supersedes his badge, right? Because you are a descendant, right? So your whiteness supersedes his badge. So it's pretty much Back to Blue unless he's brown. Is that what it is? Back to Blue unless he's brown. I got it. Okay, I got it. I'm just making sure. I'm following all the dots here. How we got to the point where foreigners are given the privilege to enforce this nation's laws unto citizens is beyond me, but I've had damn near enough of it. Now, either you are telling me that there are folks who are non-citizens who are given the ability to be able to give you tickets and tow your car, or you are telling me that you don't believe in minority cops. Like you literally can only follow a white cop. And I wonder if you would even follow them because even from a white cop, you still are descendant from those who form the laws that he's meekly trying to enforce, right? You can respectfully reason your way out of trouble, at least out of parking violations with a fellow countryman. I've done it dozens of times in my life. I'm sorry. Did you just admit to me that you talked your way out of dozens of parking violations? Do you know how many violations you have to get to talk your way out of dozens? I have received parking violations. I've never talked my way out of one because I've never caught somebody giving me one. You have to get so many parking violations that you are actually encountering the people giving you the parking violations and then talk your way out of it dozens of times. Sir, you are a menace to society. You are a menace to society. I mean, Kramer from Seinfeld didn't have this many tickets.
I know who you are. You're the scofflaw.
I never heard anything like this in my life. And you could pretty much go ahead and take allegedly out of your first paragraph. I'm gonna say, if you talked your way out of dozens of parking violations, I'm gonna go ahead and say this was a violation. But a tyrannical foreigner with no concept of Western rights and tradition wielding the long sword of the Leviathan is completely out of bounds, and why we tolerate it as a nation is well beyond me. You know what? Why we tolerate giving badges to Browns? I mean, really, that is pretty crazy. That is pretty crazy. I would like to note for the record, At no point in any of that racist dribble did you dispute that your plates were expired. Like, at no point. At no point did you dispute that your plates were expired. And I'm gonna go ahead and take allegedly out of you were parked somewhere you're not supposed to be when you've talked your way out of it dozens of times. So what you're saying to me is that he was doing his job properly, enforcing the rules and the laws that you are descendant of those who have laid down in this fine country of ours, but you can't respect it because he's brown. Is there anything else? Is there anything else anybody wants to know? I think I got it. Okay. All right. Now Fox News, okay, because I got to holler at you now. How accountable should you be for something like this, right? Because this happened after he was already employed. Like, you would never have hired him. Oh, wait a minute. That's not. Oh, okay. So he had already previously posted this. In fact, Clegg was student body president at Texas State University, but was impeached in 2018 after posting racist hashtags in an Instagram post against Asians. Yeah, Fox News, Laura Ingraham, y'all gotta hold this entire L. I have never heard of a college president being impeached. I've never heard of that in my entire life. And think about it. He got impeached for racism. How bad is it to get impeached for racism by a group of people in their late teens and early 20s? That is one of the most offensive groups known to man. And they said, nah, we got to get this guy out the paint. Like, that group said, we got to get this guy out the paint. In Texas. Yes, in Texas. That is who Fox News saw to brought on board. Now, I don't know whether you can say that they just did no background check whatsoever, or maybe that's what attracted them in the first place. You guys can take your pick. Now, all of y'all, Fox News, Laura Ingraham, all y'all nominated for Race of the Week alongside Connor Clegg. Y'all know the drill. We just did the same thing with Ann Coulter and Vivek Ramaswamy. Y'all are platforming this nonsense. And by the way, if you haven't checked that out, the link will be in the description. By the way, if you can get a chance to check out my piece on New York Governor Kathy Hochul, who also potentially could get a nomination, make sure you check that out as well. That link will be in the description. But you guys let me know in the comments who you think should ultimately take home the prize. This is one of the most competitive weeks we've ever had. As always, if you have somebody you would like to nominate, leave it in the comments. You can email me at reese.waters@gmail.com, and be sure to subscribe to the page to make sure you get notified when the next video drops.
This was a rigged, disgraceful trial, but the real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people, and they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here. You have a sore respect, DA, and the whole thing. We didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man.
Wait a minute. I've seen this before.
I'm innocent. I ain't do nothing. I don't know what's going on. All I know is my side of the story. I can't tell no other story. I'm innocent, and Mama, I love you. P.O.P. all the time.
Welcome to Street Politics. My name is Reese Waters. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the page. A Manhattan jury. Stop laughing. A Manhattan jury has found former President Donald Trump guilty. Be serious. A Manhattan jury has found former President Donald Trump guilty on Stop. A Manhattan jury has found former President Donald Trump guilty on 34 felony counts of falsifying business records. Are y'all gonna let me get through this or not? The verdict adds to Trump's extensive legal troubles, which include being found liable for abuse and defamation in a civil trial last year, resulting in over $88 million in damages. The columnist E. Jean Carroll. Trump also faces upcoming trials in Washington, D.C., Florida, and Georgia, with charges related to inciting the Capitol riot, mishandling classified documents, and attempting to alter the 2020 election results. He also remains the only president to have been impeached twice. Let's go to a live reaction outside the courthouse.
Trump motherfuckers! Piece of shit! The judge is a piece of shit! The Jesus James is a piece of shit!
They just killed our country. Who is paying my man's phone bill? I mean, he out here in the middle of the day, so clearly wasn't nobody looking for him to do a job, you know, for payment. And it doesn't look like it's his first day outside. How he got a phone?
The only man that ever stood up for me in my fucking life.
Through and through.
Donald fucking Trump.
Fucking Obama.
Oh, so I guess we got a new Trump kid. You know, take a good look at him, because if Trump gets reelected, he gonna be in the cabinet. You know he loves to bring in family, make him the secretary of street urchins with phones.
Not guilty! Not guilty! Not guilty! Not guilty! Not guilty! Trump! Not fucking guilty! We love you! We love you! Not guilty! We love you!
I guess if you yell not guilty enough times, it just becomes true. It just appears out of nowhere like Candyman. 30 million, 30 million, 30 million, 30 million. Of course, that wasn't the only reaction.
What do you think, Bill?
I think it's time for dancing in the streets. Dancing in the streets.
Trump is not above the law. No one is above the law. Trump is not above the law.
That last one was kind of sad. I'm gonna be honest with you. That looked sad. That looked almost as bad as Black Lives MAGA in the Bronx. Oh wait, what's that? Oh, this happened in the middle of the workday, like just in the middle of the afternoon on a random Thursday. So y'all were working because y'all got jobs. Y'all got places to be. Okay, you got people that are counting on you to produce, not only for your families, but also for society. You had things to do to continue to be a credit to society, so you didn't have time to just follow Trump around and stand outside the courthouse when you're not at a rally. I understand. That makes sense. Now, American voters will determine the significance of this conviction as they prepare for the 2024 election. There's key battleground states like Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, Nevada, North Carolina, and Arizona that'll be crucial in deciding whether this conviction disqualifies Trump from another term or if his supporters remain undeterred by his many legal issues. Now, throughout this trial, he used press conferences to portray himself as a victim of the Biden administration and the deep state, which boosted his fundraising efforts, particularly among small donors. In fact, I actually have a video dedicated specifically to everything that happened during the trial, a whole summary if you miss anything. Now, despite serious allegations, many Republican leaders remain loyal to Trump. House Speaker Mike Johnson and other GOP members have shown unwavering support, dismissing the trial as a sham. Even Trump's former rivals, like Senators Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance, and persistent critics like Governor Chris Sununu, have ultimately rallied behind him. Nikki Haley, Trump's last major opponent in the Republican primary, who used to harshly criticize him, has also pledged her support. And I drag her for that, as well as Ted Cruz, right here. But we can't truly know the ramifications of Trump's conviction until we dive into the sea of misinformation that is Fox News. But But I wanted to be there live as they found out.
Now it looks like we have some of the verdicts coming in. It is quickly coming in here. From inside, we are starting to hear that there are guilty. There are guilty verdicts. From our producer inside, we're hearing guilty on 1 through 5. 1 through 12, we have now 13, 14 guilty. 15 guilty.
You think they're gonna cry? You think they're gonna cry?
You may hear there are a split of folks here who have been protesting on both sides of this case. Some cheer, some boos, as we are now getting the information from the jury. We're up to 18 counts, 19 guilty. Remember, we have 34 here, 20 guilty. And again, these counts were very similar, what they were looking at. It was different occurrences, essentially, of the same crime, a misdemeanor that was elevated by being linked to a felony, to an underlying crime. We are now 24 counts in, all guilty from inside. This is what we are hearing from our producers, up to 26 guilty. Now, remember, each of these counts could maximum have 4 years in jail. President Trump would be considered a first-time offender. These are non-violent crimes. So it seems that it is unlikely the judge would sentence him to prison, but we are now up to 31 counts guilty out of 34. 32 guilty, also coming in from inside the courtroom. Our producers now saying 33 and 34. They're saying guilty on all 34 charges. That is where we are at.
Can I get one? We got two. Can I get three, 4, 5, 7? We're up to 7, 8. We got 8. We got 9. Can I get 9? Can I get 10? Can I get 10? Can I get 10? 11. Can I get 13? Can I get 13? 13. Can I get an 18? Can I get 18? 20. We're up to 20. Can I get a 21? Going once, going to 22. We got a 22. 22. Going once, going twice. 23. 24. We got 25. Oh, can I get a 26? We got 26. Can I get a 27? Can I get a 27? We got a 28.50. I didn't know you could have half a charge. We got a 28.50. Can I get 29? 30. We're up to 30. 31. Can I get 31? 32. We're up to 32. 32. Can I get 32 and a half? We got 32 and a quarter. A whole quarter charge. 32 and 3/4. Unbelievable. Can I get 33? 33. Going once, going twice. 34. We got 34 charges sold to the man who just woke up from a nap. You know what? That's not satisfying enough. I need to see the faces. You know, like when Michigan State beat Michigan at the last minute and we got the close-up of the crying fan. Y'all know I love to see a losing fan.
I mean, we think about that in also the context of the fact that if they're, as we've talked about, going to now start referring to former President Trump as convicted felon Donald Trump, and whether they're going to use that language.
Let me try that on. Convicted felon Donald Trump. Yeah, I kind of like the sound of that.
This man's life is a Greek tragedy. From billionaire, bankruptcy, TV star, Hollywood Walk of Fame, divorces, marriages, children. This man's life is a Greek tragedy. From billionaire, bankruptcy, TV star, Hollywood Walk of Fame, divorces, marriages, children. And that was even before he enters politics. And then you have investigations and hoaxes and a pandemic. And now they're trying to incarcerate this person.
I think I've seen that before. I could do a whole video of Fox News like that. In fact, I probably should. Wait, what's that? Oh, we got a response from Trump himself? Great.
I'm innocent. I ain't do nothing. I don't know what's going on. All I know is my side of the story. I can't tell no other story. I'm innocent. And Mama, I love you. P.O.P. all the time. Right, these all good pimp spoiled baby for life.
Sorry, that was the wrong clip.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt. It's a rigged trial, a disgrace. They wouldn't give us a venue change. We were at 5% or 6% in this district, in this area. This was a rigged, disgraceful trial. But the real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people.
No, that actually was the real verdict. You are not sleeping. This is real life.
But the real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people. And they know what happened here, and everybody knows what happened here. You have a sore respect, DA, and the whole thing. We didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man, and it's okay. I'm fighting for our country. I'm fighting for our Constitution. Our whole country is being rigged right now. This was done by the Biden administration in order to wound or hurt an opponent, a political opponent. And I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end and we'll win, because our country's gone to hell. We don't have the same country anymore. We have a divided mess.
I wonder when that happened. I wonder when that division happened. Like, if you could pinpoint an exact point in which we became so divided, when would it be? Would it be January 6th, or would it be before that? Before that, with maybe the whole election, like your whole campaign of division? Would it be the election, or maybe it goes before that and it's the birtherism? Maybe it might be the birtherism.
We're a nation in decline, serious decline. Millions and millions of people pouring into our country right now, from prisons and from mental institutions, terrorists.
You know what? It's some people walking around free who should be in jail or mental institutions, but I think we just got one, though.
And they're taking over our country. We have a country that's in big trouble. But this was a rigged decision right from day one, with a conflicted judge who should have never been allowed to try this case, never. And we will fight for our Constitution. This is long from over. Thank you very much.
Why should voters vote for a convicted felon?
You notice that whole time, his lawyer didn't say a word, because he know he ain't getting paid.
What good attorney is going to go work for Trump at this point? Not anybody that wants to.
He doesn't pay people.
He doesn't pay, and you lose your license and or go to prison.
Oh, Jasmine Crockett, you know I'm going to have to talk about that. Stay tuned. He decided, you know what? I understand that this is my daughter's big moment. If there's one thing that I want her to remember for the rest of her life, it's never to touch black men. Hi, I'm Reese Waters, and welcome to the third edition of Racist of the Week. This week, what is going on, America? I sit down here, I want to do my troubled waters, I want to do my street politics, I want to do a live. No, you got to do Racist of the Week, because America won't stop being racist. First, I had to sit down here and talk about Donald Trump dropping ends on The Apprentice, and 3 black women discussing how to spin it.
I'm trying to find out at least what context it was used in to help us maybe try to figure out a way to spin it. I said, well, sir, can you think of any time that this might have happened? And he said no.
Well, that's not true.
He goes, how do you think I should handle it? And I told him exactly what you just said, Marissa, which is, well, it depends on what scenario you're talking about. And he said, well, why don't you just go ahead and put it to bed?
Then I had to come here and talk about American Airlines and them deciding to remove all the black people from a flight for an odor complaint, which was made by one flight attendant.
Yo, I paid for the flight just like everybody else. So we don't have a right to be on this flight? So this is discrimination. Yo, this is insane.
I agree.
Yo, just because of the color of my skin. Okay.
I do not disagree with you.
I had to talk about that. Now, we got a whole nother issue we got to discuss. Now, this is where we typically expose the stupidity and hypocrisy of discrimination in hopes we can build a more perfect union. And I want to put a capital S on stupidity for this particular one, and also laugh. As usual, I would like to thank today's sponsor, Racism. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the page, and definitely leave me any possible suggestions for nominees in the comments. Today's nominee, this Baraboo County, Wisconsin parent. Now, the graduation ceremony at a Wisconsin high school took a chaotic turn when a white student's father disrupted the proceedings, confronting the black superintendent for reasons I'll articulate in great detail in just a moment. First, check out the video.
Oh, excuse me. Where's Brendan? Where's Brendan?
Get away from me, bro.
No, don't.
Hey, no. Hey, you need to get. Hey.
Hey.
You gotta go. I will get off. Out right now. I don't care. Get off the stage right now.
That way, Michael. No. Where's Brendan? Whose dad is that?
Brendan's.
Okay. Who's up?
Now, the video shows a young girl donned in her cap and gown walking across the stage for her big moment, one which she's prepared for quite a long time for, I can imagine, approaching a line of administrators to shake hands. While she was about 3 administrators away from Baraboo School District Superintendent Rainey Briggs, a black man, the student's father enters and shoves the superintendent out of the way, declaring, "That's my daughter. I don't want her touching him." Man, why could that be? Huh? Why? I'm wondering why. What could be the issue with the superintendent? I mean, he does happen to be the only person of color on stage. Could that be it? Could that be? Or maybe it's just because he's superintendent and nobody gonna be super around my daughter, because my daughter is the only super one. So she not meeting no superintendent. We're not doing that. I'm running out of possible explanations before we get to the obvious. Now, in response, Briggs, off camera, demanded that the father remove his hands. The incident, mostly out of video frame, caused a temporary halt to the ceremony, leaving the student visibly shocked and embarrassed. Which brings me to him deciding that this was the moment that he was going to make a stand. Something that his daughter, I'm sure, was looking quite forward to. He decided, you know what? I understand that this is my daughter's big moment and this is something she might remember for the rest of her life. But she ain't gonna be touching no colors. No, she ain't gonna be touching no colors. If it's one thing that I want her to remember for the rest of her life, it's never to touch black men. That is the thing I want her to remember for the rest of her life. I also find it kind of interesting how shocked and appalled she was in this particular instance. I'm grateful for that reaction because that tells me that this behavior is not normalized. At the same time, I wonder how it could be that a man who chooses this moment for him to take a stand in public, that his daughter is not going to touch a black man's hand, how that behavior is not something that has presented itself in the past. Like, I can't imagine just living in a home with a man who decided that was his moment to strike is an anti-racist environment. State Rep Francesca Hong told the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel that the incident was purely racist. Unless there was another deliberate reason, there was nobody else he pushed out of the way, end quote. She also condemned the act on social media, labeling it as gross and racist conduct. I don't want to automatically jump to racism, but what else could his motivations possibly be? Well, I really disagree with some of the decisions that have been made by the superintendent and also the administration. And so while I'm totally fine with her touching everybody else and shaking hands, I just can't have my daughter shake hands with the superintendent because that would be an implicit approval of everything that he has done during his tenure. What? I mean, make it make sense. You know how bad it is when racism is the best explanation? Not like the best from a moral standpoint, but the most sensible explanation. Because I have seen people try to make excuses for this and say it might not have to do with race. Make your case. Make your case. Right? Because we all know that all the people that I shook hands with on stage all throughout my grade school, junior high, and high school years meant an approval of how they've been operating the school district. Yeah, I am tied to my association with the principal and superintendents I shook hands with in 8th grade. That makes me culpable in all of their behavior. What the f are you talking about? That doesn't make any logical sense. Now, unlike many similar incidents, this one actually resulted in immediate consequences for the father. The Baraboo School District responded swiftly, as reported by WKOW. The district confirmed that law enforcement referred a disorderly conduct charge against the father to the Sauk County District Attorney's Office. The Baraboo School Resource Officer, along with 2 off-duty officers present at the ceremony, quickly managed the situation. The police escorted the parent off stage and out of the venue. Quote, "We emphasize that the safety and well-being of our students, staff, and community members is a top priority. The school district of Baraboo is taking this incident very seriously," which was stated by a district spokesperson. Now, if you watch the video at the very end, there is quite a commotion in the crowd. Now, you could read this as people approving of the officers stepping in and removing the father from stage, or you could possibly read this as folks advocating for the father and being happy that he chose a moment to take a stand. You could be on either side of that. Now my natural inclination when I watch the video is the former, is to say that the people were reacting to the officers removing the father from stage and they wanted to continue on with the ceremony. They didn't appreciate this disruption. That was my natural reading of the situation. And then I saw that this is the same district where a photo came out showing students in the high school doing an apparent Nazi salute. Yeah, if this was a court of law, I would just rest my case. I would just rest my case. I have no more questions at this time, Your Honor. I would appreciate privacy for me and my family in this moment while we reflect and do some rethinking on my prior belief that we lived in a good and just society. Now, the father is scheduled to appear in Sauk County Circuit Court in August, though his name was largely omitted from reports to protect his daughter's identity. Now, this had been out for a couple of days without anybody actually identifying the father, which is curious because typically when somebody engages in behavior like this, they get identified. Also, typically when somebody has charges pressed against them, they get identified. But we chose to protect his identity in order to protect the daughter. So it's totally fine for him to put his daughter in that situation. He didn't see any need to protect his daughter by not having this viral moment of blatant racism on stage while she was getting her diploma, but we are going to choose to protect his daughter. So we are choosing to show more care about his daughter than he showed. I also find it curious. We all know who the superintendent is. We all know who that is. We all know that he was left out there and exposed for a father to come on stage and put his hands on him. So we didn't protect the superintendent. We didn't protect the superintendent, but we got to make sure we protect the racists. Oh, y'all ain't slick. Y'all ain't slick. Yeah, we let him march right on stage and put his hands on the superintendent, but we got to protect his identity, for his daughter, right? We got to protect his identity. Save him from his racism, but certainly not going to save us from his racism. Now, as much as I hate to be the bearer of bad news for all the people that worked so hard and twisted themselves into pretzels to try and protect this man from himself, Matt Eady. Yeah, we know who you are, Matt Eady. Yeah, we know who you are. Yeah, They found the employer and everything. Yeah. They got you, man. They found you, Matt Edie. You thought that we were going to protect you, right? You thought that we were going to protect you and not the superintendent. That's not what I do. Yeah, you go on stage and you behave like that, then you can answer for your behavior. And no, I don't associate your daughter with your behavior. And quite frankly, I hope she's doing okay having grown up in a home with you. So congratulations to you, Matt Edie. You are our third Races of the Week nominee. And my goodness, races are getting absolutely bold. You see this? They just getting bold. Like I said in the American Airlines piece, like you would think they would sprinkle a couple of white people in there just so it wasn't so obvious you're removing the black people from the plane. Black people that didn't even know each other, mind you. Now, if you were gonna come on stage and have an issue, you sure you didn't want to just take your daughter off stage and say, I don't want to shake hands with the administrators? To those that are making the nonsense case that this was politically motivated or this was somehow motivating the job he was doing in the district, the better move for your case would have been for him to separate her from all of the administrators, not the only black one. That is how lazy racists are getting in 2024, and that is how bold racists are getting in 2024. As always, if you have somebody you would like to nominate, you can leave it in the comments, or you can email me at reese.waters@gmail.com. A ton of you sent me this story, so I'm grateful to you for that. Be sure to subscribe to the page to make sure you get notified when the next video drops.